ladies and gentlemen, hello, welcome back to the channel. The saga keeps going. This looks like Groundhog Day. It looks like the day of all days. And I'm assuming, and I'm just going to open up the stream with saying it, I'm assuming within the next 24 hours, we will have official confirmation that Ange Postecoglou is no longer manager of Celtic. I'm going to jump straight into things. It's nice to see you guys piling in. I know it's 12:30 or 1:45 on a Monday afternoon. Most of you probably have work or whatever. If you can't watch live, I understand. Welcome in the video form. If you are, like and subscribe anyway. We're going to jump right into things because I want to get you guys involved. I want to hear your thoughts and your opinions towards the situation. But today is looking very much like the day that Ange Postecoglou could leave Celtic Football Club. This was broke about 5 minutes ago on Twitter from Fabrizio Romano. And it's very simply put, Ange Postecoglou has already agreed terms of a contract with Tottenham, as reported in the morning, a deal until June 2025 with a 1-year option included. The only step needed now is to get the green light from Celtic. Then Ange will become the new coach, the new head coach of Tottenham Hotspur. That was quite genuinely 10 minutes ago that broke from Fabrizio Romano, and that follows up on other news that was broken about half an hour ago on Sky Sports News, and this ties into what Fabrizio has said. Very, very tidy, you could say. It just all goes together pretty well. Postecoglou Celtic have given permission for Ange to talk with Tottenham Hotspur ahead of the interest. And yeah, Brendan Rodgers and Jesse Marsch are already the two names to have been thrown in the mix. And we're not going to talk about replacements yet. We're not going to talk about Brendan or Jesse Marsch or anybody yet. We're here to talk about the first bit of news. Ange Postecoglou has been given permission to speak with Tottenham Hotspur. And if the deal is done and Celtic are fine with it, which I assume they already are, then I think that by the end of today, and we'll be here all day, don't worry, I'll be going live, whatever news comes out. By the end of today, I think that we could see the announcement that Tottenham Hotspur have appointed Ange Postecoglou. It's all moved very, very quickly. You can speculate how long this has been going on for. I've seen a lot of people putting out their theories that this has been in the works for a while, that he's known all about it all along. At this point, I'm not really bothered. For one, I'm over it. I'm ready for us to move on. I'm excited for us to usher in a new era at Celtic Football Club. So you can say what you like, you can theorise, you can come up with whatever you like as to where this happened and how long it's been going on for. But my assumptions are, and I'd put my money on that by the end of tonight or by tomorrow morning, Ange Postecoglou will be the manager of Tottenham Hotspur and Celtic will be already underway and looking for their next manager. The Sky Sports article will come out to talk about it, give my opinions and such in a moment. Celtic have granted Postecoglou permission to speak with Tottenham. Sky Sports News expect talks between Postecoglou and Spurs to take place today. And we've already begun our work to look at the potential replacements. Brendan Rodgers and Jesse Marsch are two of the first names in the frame. To be honest, I think they're two of the three most likely to come to Celtic. I would expect one of them. And then obviously it goes on to talk a lot about Brendan Rodgers. We're going to talk about the other news that came out surrounding Ange Postecoglou and the future of some other guys at Celtic in a moment. Thank you for the donation though, Brody. He said, gutted, wish him the best, just worried who we'll get now. Off topic as well, but where did you get the white Jota frame photo in your background? So that one there you're talking about, that one. Guy on Twitter that I forgot his name, Rabbit. So I'll try and find it at one point, but I got it on Twitter, an artist on Twitter who actually done it after I just put up a tweet about it. But anyway, let's talk about this whole situation for a moment, because there's one more other article that I need to pull up and we need to talk about very quickly. It's hectic today. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to process, to be quite honest. And honestly, I don't know what the future is looking like right now for Celtic. I'm very positive. I'm very optimistic that things will be fine and we'll go in a good direction. We'll come on to that. But in regards to the landscape of the club right now, I think it's going to be shaken, because this also broke last night that Ange Postecoglou wants John Kennedy to join him at Tottenham Hotspur. Not only John Kennedy, but Gavin Strachan as well. The reports are going as far as saying that he's already said to John and Gavin that, look at me, first name basis, that there is jobs for them. He wants them to come with him. He wants them to be John Kennedy to be his assistant at Tottenham. Now, the one big thing about that is, if you remember rightly, John Kennedy was also offered the chance to go with Brendan Rodgers a few years ago when he went to Leicester. John Kennedy turned around and said no, and there's obviously the chance that that could happen now. What I will say is, it's a few years on. Tottenham's a huge opportunity, and I think that we're now in a position where Jordan will probably want to move on. John Kennedy will probably want to take that opportunity to be the assistant manager at Tottenham Hotspur, to go down to London on what will be a massive wage. I think that we should be prepared for John Kennedy and Gavin Strachan to leave the club with Ange Postecoglou. Now, I've seen a lot of people giving Ange a lot of dirt for this, a lot of negativity, obviously a lot of I think we're all in a kind of bitter mindset right now. And a lot of people have got really vocal on that, and they're not happy about Ange doing it. But what I will say is, football's a funny game. It's a funny old game that we have here in Scotland and with Celtic, and just in football in general. Because when Neil Lennon was thrown out the door at Celtic Park, when he was thrown out the door at Celtic Park, everybody wanted rid of John Kennedy, Gavin Strachan. Well, most people. I always wanted Kennedy to stay, but most people wanted Kennedy and Strachan out the door. And now we're at a point where Ange Postecoglou is getting called all the bastards under the sun for wanting to take John Kennedy and Gavin Strachan with him. It's funny how things change in football. When you're on top, everybody's a hero and you want everybody to stay, but as soon as you're not, then it's out the door, isn't it? It's just such a black and white game, football. What I will say is, I see a good comment here from Hannah. Interesting though that Ange has traditionally never took his backroom staff anywhere, but he wants to take Kennedy and Strachan. I imagine that there's a lot to it, and this is what I'm saying, right? I think that obviously the deal's been agreed. Ange is away. He's agreed his contract with Tottenham, and that means they'll have the agreed conditions. So whether that includes Kennedy or Strachan, we await to see. But obviously something must be different here. I don't know what he's getting at Tottenham. I don't know what he's been offered at Tottenham, but maybe with the conditions that he's discussed with Daniel Levy, I think that there's probably been a light bulb that's went off in Ange's head that has went, I need these guys with me. And obviously, as Hannah's pointed out there, traditionally, he hasn't taken his backroom staff with him. And it's frustrating that now suddenly he wants to raid Celtic of their backroom staff and take them down to Tottenham Hotspur. But what I will say is, right, it is annoying. It is one that I feel frustrated about, because I would have loved the continuity of two of these guys being here. But with change coming this way, let's fully embrace it. Let's just welcome it all in. It might be turbulent. Who knows? We don't know what the future of Celtic looks like in regards to trophies and success next season. But what I guarantee is, with the group of players that we've got there, and with the things that are in place right now within the club, I'm confident that whoever comes in, whether it be Brendan Rodgers, Jesse Marsch, whoever comes in, I'm sure that they'll be able to take the reins and pick up where we've left off. And that doesn't need to have necessarily John Kennedy and Gavin Strachan there. I think that we've also seen the likes of, Stephen McManus and Darren Today, who have been, and they might not be at the standard yet that we need them to be in the first team coaching staff, but they've been put in a place to try and kind of fit into this mould. John Kennedy and Gavin Strachan were not going to be at Celtic forever. That's the reality. They were going to leave at some point. God, John Kennedy might have left this summer if he got offered a decent job somewhere. If Ange went anyway, John might have went, well, do you know what? I'm going to go as well. New chapter for me, new fresh start. And he might want to work his way to eventually being Celtic manager. Gavin Strachan and John Kennedy weren't going to be here forever. So I can understand it being frustrating, and I can understand it being one that people will be like, Ange, what are you doing? But I think with change coming our way, we should just embrace it. And I think it's an exciting prospect. Yeah, I would have liked a bit of continuity in the backroom, but if they're going, they're going. And I'm confident whatever manager comes in next will bring a good backroom staff with them. £8 donation, thank you very much, Belly. Appreciate that. Saying, just remember, we are the first team to win 8 trebles. That's it. Try and focus on the positives as much as we can. Yeah, so the breaking news this afternoon, the developing news, as we all know right now. Just to clarify for people joining late, there's nearly 600 people here live at the moment. Thank you very much. The kind of developing news that we've heard so far and right now is that he's agreed his terms with Tottenham. The deal is done, and they're just waiting on the green light from Celtic to make it happen. But Celtic have obviously given Ange permission, which means the green light's there, and it's only a matter of time now before the announcement is made that Ange Postecoglou is the next manager of Tottenham Hotspur. We're going to get on to you guys in a moment. Let's quickly focus on those first two names who have been linked with Celtic and perhaps the next manager, the manager of Celtic. Let's just quickly open this up. Celtic have looked and identified already apparently the names of Brendan Rodgers and Jesse Marsch. Those are the first two names to come up. And I'm happy with those two names to start us off anyway. Look, everybody knows, and I've not had it, and I've got, my Twitter's there for everybody to see, my new account if you haven't followed it already, by the way. But I've already tweeted numerous times, and I've already made it evidently clear that Brendan Rodgers is my go-to. And I don't feel like I need to drill that home to you guys all the time here. And I know people are still very split-minded in Brendan Rodgers. The fact is about Brendan Rodgers, he's a winner. He won everything that he could at Celtic. And I like winning. I think to hold this grudge against him forever and ever is something that's just going to become tedious. I got over it a long time ago, and I would encourage everybody else to get over it because I think there's a very good chance, and I'm going to speak very openly and honestly here, I think the next manager of Celtic is going to be Brendan Rodgers. I have a feeling. If it's not Brendan Rodgers, I'm fine with that. I like a lot of the names. I think we're in a very good position right now. We're in such an attractive state as a football club that there's a lot of good options out there. There's a lot of good names. And I'm very happy with any number of them. There's a couple that I don't want, but the majority of them I'm fine with. But what I will say about Brendan Rodgers is he will come in, he will win a derby, and everybody will be back on board. So there's no point in holding this grudge forever. People will get used to it. People will like it. Tom, thank you. Is that you, Damo? Is it you? I don't know. I just see D. Thompson. Brendan Rodgers will get absolutely levered. Do you know what? I've already tweeted. If it is Brendan Rodgers, big if. I do think it will be, but if it's Brendan Rodgers, it will be very interesting to see what direction the club and Brendan himself go in with. I don't know how they're going to handle it and how to go about it. Are they going to sit him down and do some sort of scripted apology video to get everybody back on side? I don't know how exactly they'll go about it. I don't know what would go on if Brendan Rodgers came back through the door, but I think that it would be very, very, very soon before all fans were fine again and everybody's happy with Brendan Rodgers being back in. And I thought it was you, Damo. Thank you very much, mate. I think that there is a right to feel aggrieved towards Brendan Rodgers. Absolutely. Walked out on us midway through the season. He left us. He left us in the dark. He was on his way to trying to win another treble and he just walked out on us. He up sticks and he walked out the door. But I think that for the good of the football club, this is a guy that comes in and he wins. He knows what he's doing. And this is a second time round where I think things would be very, very different for Brendan Rodgers. Now, people have been talking about, and I see the interview mentioned in 2019 there where he says he'd love to come back to Celtic. I think things are very different now. Now, if we go back to Rodgers' first tenure as Celtic manager, the recruitment wasn't fantastic. He did make some fantastic signings, as we know. We got Scott Sinclair, Moussa Dembele, Odsonne Edouard, some of the best players we've seen at the club in recent times. But there was a lot of dross in there. The difference is Lee Congerton isn't here with him this time. The recruitment at Celtic has had a massive overhaul. Massive overhaul. There is a lot of new faces at the club. Some names that you might not really recognise, but there's names there that are making a difference. Mark Lawwell being one of the top ones at the club. He wasn't there when Brendan Rodgers was there. And none of the scouting team right now, I don't think, were either. I think very little of them. There's been a massive overhaul. The signings would be different. I also think that one thing that would be massively different as well is the backing that Brendan Rodgers would get. When he was Celtic manager, we heard that he walked out because he wasn't backed. And the reason he apparently walked to Leicester is because he didn't feel like he was getting back to the extent that he believed he should have been. I think now the evidence is there from how much Ange Postecoglou was backed that we will do that with another top-class elite manager. Brendan Rodgers is a top-class elite manager. He's one of, and you might not want to admit it if you're still bitter about it, but the fact of the matter is, Brendan Rodgers is one of the best football managers, best coaches in Britain. That is fact. You can take your opinion aside for a moment, it is fact. He done incredibly well at Celtic, and he done incredibly well at Leicester. He won an FA Cup, he won a Community Shield, he guided them to European football, 2 years in a row? And obviously the wheels fell off at the end once again when he wasn't backed. He's coming into Celtic now with a bigger pedigree than he once had. With the past that he has at Celtic, I am fully convinced that they will back him this time. They will give him what they were going to give to Ange this season. Ange would have been back this summer. There is no doubt about it. And if Celtic were trying to convince Ange to stay, they would have told him that. They would have said to Ange, we will back you this summer. Brendan Rodgers, or another elite manager, is going to come into the door for an interview at Celtic Park, and they're going to want to be convinced they will be backed as much as Ange Postecoglou would have been backed. And that's the big difference with Brendan Rodgers maybe being at Celtic a second time round than the first time round. He is a winner. He wins time after time after time. And for me, he is by far and miles the top candidate and should be the top candidate for this job. I will welcome him at Glasgow Airport. Never a fraud, always a Celtic man. But we'll wait and see. He's one of the names. Jesse Marsch, the other, of course. I'm going to close this down for now. We'll talk and I'm going to get you guys involved. 700 viewers, by the way. Thank you. And thank you, Ian, for the donation. Good to see you as always, mate. He said, I, Ryan, would prefer Ange stays, but I would take Rodgers as manager. He's a quality manager, yeah. I mean, honestly, if there was a last-minute U-turn possible, I'd take it, but I think we're beyond that. He's off, he's gone. But yeah, Brendan's my first choice. Let's talk about Jesse Marsch very quickly, of course. Jesse Marsch has had a very unlucky couple of years in the managerial game. Sacked from Leeds, sacked from Leipzig, didn't go to plan at either side. What I will say about Leeds is, it's Leeds. I think that any manager would have struggled as manager of Leeds United. Jesse Marsch, Pep Guardiola, Ange Postecoglou, Brendan Rodgers. I think anybody would have struggled to do whatever they wanted with that Leeds side. I wouldn't take anything too much from that. Leipzig was maybe too big too quickly with the position that they wanted to be in as a football club. But what I will say about Jesse Marsch is he's an incredibly talented coach. His job at Salzburg was unbelievable. He was a proper good manager. He got the Leipzig job for a reason. And maybe a career revival somewhere like Celtic could be ideal for him. Now the question is, as fans, are we ready for someone to revive their career at Celtic? That's a big question. We'll be talking all about it. Don't worry. There will be no lack of videos this week. Just as well, it's next Monday I go on my holidays. I'm away next Monday. Thank God it's not today, because, my God, we've got a lot to talk about this week. Trust me, I will go through every candidate, the pros, the cons. I will have videos left, right and centre talking about these managers. But what I will say, to wrap up here before I get on to you guys, I want you guys to dictate the rest of this stream. What I will say is, in regards to the next manager at Celtic Football Club, it's got to be quick. And I think it will be quick. And I think it's extremely telling that Marsch and Rodgers' names have already been thrown out there. I think Dermot Desmond, Peter Lawwell, whoever else is going to be involved in making this decision, will be on the phone to Brendan Rodgers, Jesse Marsch, right now. They'll be discussing terms, and they'll be identifying their best option as quickly as possible. There's no time to waste. It's not like last time. We waited 100 days for a manager. We went from, late February, early March, right into May. We had that luxury, almost, of the end of the season to try things. We don't now. We need a manager who's going to be in place for these players coming back from their holidays. One that's ready to take us on this tour of Japan and South Korea. I think, and I don't want to throw it out there too soon. Thank you for the donation, by the way, Blake. Would Jesse Marsch understand the pressure at Celtic? I think so. I think he's a good enough coach to understand it. It's whether or not he takes to it. I think he'll understand it perfectly fine. It's just whether or not he can deal with it. But thank you for the donation. We'll talk about Jesse Marsch tons during the week. What I will say is, I don't know anything. I'm not inside I'm not an insider. I'm not in the know. I'm never one to claim I'm in the know. But what I will say is this, lads and ladies. I wouldn't be surprised if Celtic have a manager by the end of the week. I wouldn't be surprised. If we don't have one by the end of the week, I think we'll have a very good idea who it's going to be by the end of the week. I think Celtic already know. And I think that article brought by Sky Sports today at 12:30 with Rodgers' name and Jesse Marsch's name being there is extremely telling. Extremely telling. I think Rodgers would want it. I think Celtic would want it. I think that we might have a manager by the end of the week. Don't take my word on it. It's not me saying it's going to happen. I don't even necessarily want to say I expect it to happen. I just have a feeling deep down in my gut that by the end of the week, we'll know who the next Celtic manager is going to be. And for me, I hope it's Brendan Rodgers. Right, let's get on to you guys, because we've been through it. Just quick recap before I get on to the comments. Let me just throw up the articles on screen just to finish off. In case you have joined late, Celtic have given permission for Ange Postecoglou to speak with Tottenham Hotspur. Brendan Rodgers and Jesse Marsch are in the frame to replace him. Apparently Celtic have begun working on the potential successor. Pardon me, sorry lads. And apparently Ange wants to take John Kennedy and Gavin Strachan with him. So we'll need to wait and see what happens. Let's get on to the comments for the last 10 or so minutes. We'll probably be live again tonight. There might be a video tonight. I don't think this will be the last you hear from me, because I think that the announcement might get made tonight. I think this is like this. I seen a comment there, Mr. Freeland, and it's true. Loyalty in football doesn't exist nowadays. Football's a money game, and wherever the money is, that's where people want to be. Us as Celtic supporters will be loyal to Celtic to the day we die, but managers and players will come and go. And it's the reality we need to accept, and that comes with the next manager of Celtic. The next manager of Celtic's got to be here 2-3 years. Whether it be Brendan Rodgers, whether it be Jesse Marsch, whether it be Knutsen, whoever it is, will be here 2 or 3 years if they're a success. They might be here shorter if they're not a success. And that's the reality of football now, I'm afraid. So yeah, let's get our comments. Mark saying that Knutsen isn't a bad shout, but honestly don't know what style he plays. What I will say, he ran us riot in Europe. He's won 2 out of 3 league titles in Norway with Bodo Glimt. As we know, he's took them very far in Europe, unlucky last year against Roma, and he's developed player after player. The style of football, obviously, I've not watched week in, week out. I'm not going to pretend I have, but I think he's a viable name for the job. I think he'll be looked at. I think he'll be an option. Is it one that Celtic are ready to gamble on? People will ask that question. But obviously, yes, we gambled on Ange Postecoglou, and he was managing Japan. So why would we not take a gamble on someone that manages Norway? Will he be up the top of the list? We wait and see. But I think that Knudsen is a very realistic option for the club if he was interested, and I'm sure the club would look at it. He has been linked with Ajax, of course, who are looking for a new manager. If it came down to picking between Celtic and Ajax, where would he end up? Honestly, I don't think that Knutsen will beat Celtic. I think he will be considered, and I think he's someone that would maybe get asked a question, but I don't think he is above the likes of Rodgers, Marsch, Potter, if it's realistic. I don't think he's above any of those names for the club, anyway. For a lot of us, he might be, but for the club, I don't think so. Yeah. Let's see. A lot of Brendan Rodgers split in the chat here. A lot of people against it, a lot of people for it. You know where I am. I'm going to be giving Rodgers propaganda for the next week, lads. You've got to accept it. I'll be giving Rodgers propaganda for the next week. And, right, let's get this point up. That's the wrong one. I want to bring up John's comment. Right, and Rodgers got more points in way worse Champions League groups than Ange got this year. Where's the myth came from that he's awful in Europe? Look, listen, I think that this is the thing about Rodgers in Europe. He didn't do well in Europe, let's be real. He didn't do great. A couple of good results, don't get me wrong. And more points than what we got against teams this year with Ange. Absolutely, it's a good point, John. It's a very, very good point. None that I've not actually thought of myself. But do it, Demo. Do it. Egg the Windies. But what I will say about Rodgers in Europe is, we didn't get the success that we wanted. It's very hard to get the success you want for European football with Celtic. It's not easy. It's a very difficult landscape to play in with any manager, let alone Brendan or Ange, whoever. What I will say is there has to be improvement. Is Brendan the man for that? I think he deserves a second crack. And look, we got a couple of big results. He took us to the last 32 of the Europa League twice, right? And in that last 32, we faced tough sides. We faced an Andre Villas-Boas, Zenit St. Petersburg side, and we faced Valencia, who obviously are in a state right now, but back then were a decent side. They were two hard teams. And it's always difficult to beat teams like that. The expectations are so high for Celtic because of what we've done in the past. But I think that, the big losses are what obviously doesn't look good. The 7-0, the 7-1, PSG, Barcelona, they don't look good. But listen, we went to the Bernabeu this year and we lost 5-1. We weren't a kick in the arse off it. These things, you need to accept this, lads. It's tough. I hate it. I don't like it. But you need to accept it happens. We're Celtic. We're not Real Madrid. And I don't think a manager makes a massive difference for that. In all honesty, when you play away to these super teams, Real Madrids, PSGs, Barcelonas, these results sadly happen. I don't know who I can pinpoint to go, that's the manager that's going to make that not happen. Sean Dyche, maybe. Do you want Sean Dyche? I don't know. $4.99 from Shay. Thank you very much, Shay. I appreciate it. I've seen rumours of Kyogo going to Tottenham for around 30 million if he and others follow. Do you think Celtic can find players that we can replace? Of course. Listen, I don't believe any of this. Don't believe these rumours about Kyogo going to Tottenham and all. No, it's not happening. Not now anyway. We'll wait and see once all the deals are done and when we have more news about Ange and his whereabouts and whenabouts and everything else. But what I will say about players leaving, guys, have we not learned? We replaced Henrik Larsson. We can replace anybody. Celtic's not a club that stops for anyone. I'll use his quote for a minute here. We never stop. Ange might be gone today. Kyogo might be gone tomorrow. Celtic will be here on Wednesday. We will replace these players. It might take time. And it's scary, I know. But we will replace them. It's not like Kyogo or Hatate or Vickers leaves and we fall apart. It might be difficult. It might be. And we don't know how long it can take. But we're not going to go anywhere. It's not going to be the end of the world. What I will say is, transfer rumours, forget about them for the next week. Forget about them. The landscape of Celtic needs to be determined before any player's future is. Brendan Rodgers, Jesse Marsch, whoever comes in and manages Celtic will know who they want and what they want to do with the squad. And we need to wait for that before we start buying into any rumours or thinking that anybody's away. You've got to wait for that. But thank you for the donation, Shay. I really appreciate it. Christ, a lot of comments flying in. A perfect one from Kevin. Look, Dembele left. We got Edouard. Edouard left. We got Kyogo. If Kyogo leaves, I'm confident we'll find somebody. But I don't, listen, don't get into all of that yet. Don't panic. Don't worry. Would I be happy with Potter? I would be extremely happy with Potter. Like, beyond happy. Beyond Brendan, he's my pick. Potter would be my pick after Brendan Rodgers. Do I think it's realistic? Maybe not as much as Rodgers, but I think that there's still a question that could be asked to Graham Potter. I think that if he wants to come and win trophies or something, then that would be ideal. Michael McIntyre, I like your comedy. Thank you for the £2. I actually don't like his comedy. I don't know why I just said that. Used to when I was about 10, and I thought everything was funny. Let's see, a lot of comments. This is what I want to talk about. A lot of people getting very, very annoyed with Ange and the way he's leaving and calling him this, that, and the next thing. I'm not going to tell people what to think. Form your own opinion. It's that. What I will say is, and I made it perfectly clear in yesterday's video, yesterday's live stream, I love Ange. I thank him for giving me 2 of the most exciting years I've had as a Celtic supporter. I've followed the club to Germany, to Poland, to Germany again. I've followed us home and away when I can. I've watched us win 5 out of 6 trophies, and I've watched some of the most exciting football that I've seen as a Celtic supporter, all thanks to Ange Postecoglou. I understand why he's taking this job. I think Spurs is a risky one, but this is what he's been working for his whole career, and he doesn't know if he's going to get this chance again. So I thank him personally, and I don't like that he's left. I wish he didn't, but it's football. I'm not going to be bitter about it. Just like I'm not bitter about Rodgers leaving a few years ago. I got over that very quickly, and I'm already over Ange leaving. And I'm not going to tell you have to agree with me. I don't think that you need to worship him or call him a legend. I also don't think that you should go as far as calling him a rat. But you're allowed your own opinion. And that's that. A lot of people obviously bringing up the old quotes. You'll be surprised how long I'm here. Things he said. How long has he known? I don't think that when he said, you're surprised how long I'll be here, he would have known that Spurs was going to come calling. I think that For anybody, that would have been a bit of pie in the sky, never mind him. So, you know, it is what it is. I move on very quickly from these things. I think it's just a bit pointless to hold personal grudges against somebody for wanting to better their career. I don't know. It's not for me. I have loved every moment of what Ange Postecoglou has given us here. He is leaving the club, and it'd be different if he left us in a state. He's leaving us in a very good position. We're off the back of a treble. We've got one of the best squads we've had in my lifetime. And the fans are well on side. I don't have a lot of bad words to say. Let's see. As an Englishman, I think it's funny how the majority of the press down here are throwing Ange under the bus before he's already got to Tottenham's front door. Hope he proves the doubters wrong again. He's been through it before many times. And we'll wait and see what happens. Let's see. I like to see a good few people agree with me. Yeah, leaving us the Champions League. And the job's more attractive than I remember it being ever in my lifetime. So, yeah. Would you like Brendan to bring back any of the old boys? This is the only thing I'll say about Rodgers coming back. Leave everybody in the past. Leave it all in the past. Let's move forward on the park. Let's sign new players. Let's keep going with the recruitment the way we've been going. I know a lot of people have been like, oh, bring back Dembele. Now he's on field. I've got his shirt there. He's my favourite Celtic player in my lifetime. One of them anyway. One of my top 3. I love him. But he's never going to come back to say, like, Christ, he's beyond us now. No, I don't want him to bring back any of the old boys. I want him to move forward. I want him to go and get new players and work with this new recruitment team that we've got if Brendan Rodgers comes through the door. Yeah, a lot of good assets here at the club. A lot of good assets. Let's see. Anything else? Fantastic position to be in for a fantastic squad. Oh, there's Stevie Chalmers. So let's move forward. Yes, absolutely. We will move forward. And I'm pretty sure we'll do well next year. A lot of Rangers fans already getting their knickers in a twist, saying that we are going to collapse and blah, blah, blah. And he shat it for Bale. Shut your mouth. Learn to do it. It's just the same. There's a lot of Rangers fans who don't do it. As we know, I'm sure all of us know a Rangers fan, right? And I'm sure we get on with... One of my best mates is a Rangers fan. Lives down the road. And like, he would never come out with half the shite you see in social media, because there's no point in fucking opening your mouth the way that it's just, it'll be funny next year if we win another treble, if Rodgers is back and he wins another one. That would be great, wouldn't it? By the way, wow, Jake, wow. Yeah. Right, well, I'm gonna leave it off there for this afternoon. But what I have said already on today's stream, and what I will say again just now before I end it off here today, this probably won't be the last you see of me. There's the phone going. That's fantastic. Just as I'm about to wrap it up, time it perfectly, didn't I? Somebody's picked it up though, that's good. What I will say is probably not the last you're going to see of me today. I'll be here every step of the way reporting on what happens as its favourites emerge for the job, as Ange is made official at Tottenham. I think that we will see an announcement over the next 24 hours to confirm that Ange Postecoglou is the new manager of Tottenham Hotspur. When that happens, I'll be here, I'll be on the channel, and I'll be talking to you guys about the aftermath of that, and we'll see if there's... I'm imagining we're going to get a farewell from Ange. We'll get some video or statement or something. We'll be here crying and reacting about it on stream. But we'll move forward. As always, Celtic will still be here and will always be here. So we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see what happens. But it was Brendan on the phone there. Brendan was phoning me. He's telling me he's got the job. Check up on the channel later on, ladies and gentlemen. I'll be here. I'll be here all week before I go on my holidays, and hopefully we have a manager before then. So yeah, until then, see you next time. Cheerio.